Just think about how much power our lives actually run on. Everything from streaming shows to huge industries, it all depends on stable electricity.
It's completely invisible, but it's the backbone.
Exactly. And as we electrify more and more, well, that need for reliability just keeps growing, doesn't it?
It really does.
So today we're doing a deep dive into something pretty critical, though maybe not always top of mind, the Global STATCOM UPS market. We've got this 2025 report to guide us.
Right, and we're going to unpack what STATCOMs, that's static synchronous compensators, and UPS uninterruptible power supplies actually do.
Okay.
You can think of them as like the guardians of power quality. STATCOMs handle the voltage regulation, keeping the grid stable, while UPS systems provide that crucial instant backup power.
So they prevent those really damaging outages.
Exactly. They stop the flicker, but more importantly, they safeguard critical systems.
Okay, so we're talking about protecting huge data centers, keeping industries running smoothly, that kind of thing, not just convenient. So our mission today, using this report, is to give you a clear picture of this market, where it is now, where it's headed, what's driving it, what the challenges are, the trends, basically the whole story, without getting too lost in the technical weeds. Eddie?
Absolutely. Well, let's jump in, maybe start with the market size.
Good idea. So the report puts the global StatCom UPS market in 2025 at USD 64.28 million.
Okay.
But here's the kicker. By 2033, it's projected to hit USD 125.29 million. That's almost double.
Wow. Okay. And that growth rate, the CAGR, comes out to 8.70% per year between 2025 and 2033.
Which sounds pretty significant for this kind of established infrastructure market, right?
Oh, definitely. That kind of growth suggests there's some major forces at play.
No doubt. And the report highlights a few key drivers. The big one seems to be the huge increase in renewable energy, solar, wind, you name it.
Right, which is fantastic for, climate goals.
Of course.
But it does bring challenges. Solar and wind power aren't constant, are they? They fluctuate with the weather.
Right, variable generation.
Right, precisely. And that variability can mess with the grid's voltage and frequency, causing instability. That's where STATCOMs are absolutely vital. They provide dynamic reactive power compensation. Think of it like super fast adjustments to keep the voltage smooth.
Ah, okay. So they balance out the ups and downs from the renewables.
Exactly. They're essential for integrating renewables smoothly. And when you consider things like the COP28 agreement aiming to triple renewable capacity by 2030, well, the need for this kind of grid stabilization tech is just going to soar.
That makes perfect sense. More green energy needs smarter grids, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, driver number 2. The explosion in data centers and all things digital. Cloud, AI, big data. It all needs these massive, power-hungry facilities running 24/7.
Absolutely critical. Downtime for these places is just unthinkable. I mean, it's lost data, huge financial hits.
Mm-hmm.
So STATCOMs ensure that super high-quality power they need, smoothing out dips or sags in voltage, and improving overall efficiency, what we call power factor. And then the UPS is the ultimate safety net, instant power if the grid fails.
So the more data we generate and use, the more we need these STATCOM UPS systems.
It's a direct correlation. The digital world runs on reliable power.
And the report also mentions growth in manufacturing and other infrastructure, too.
Yes, it's not just digital. Any industry needing absolutely consistent, high-quality power to avoid equipment damage or shutdowns is looking at these solutions more closely.
Okay, so strong growth drivers. But it can't all be smooth sailing. What about the restraints? What's holding the market back, potentially?
Well, the main hurdle mentioned is the upfront cost.
Ah, the initial investment.
Exactly. Buying and installing STATCOM and UPS systems isn't cheap. It requires significant capital, which can be tough, especially for smaller companies.
Right.
Plus, the technology is complex, and integrating it into existing electrical systems adds another layer of cost and difficulty.
So cost and complexity are barriers, makes sense, but there are also key trends shaping how the market is evolving, right?
Yes, definitely. One really big one is the shift towards modular and scalable UPS systems.
Modular, meaning?
Instead of installing one huge UPS that might be way more capacity than needed initially, companies, especially data centers, are using systems made of smaller, independent modules.
Ah, like building blocks.
Pretty much. You can add more modules as your power needs grow. It's more flexible, often more cost-effective in the long run, and usually more energy efficient too.
Okay.
And advances in things like lithium-ion batteries are helping make these modular systems smaller and better.
That sounds much smarter, like a pay-as-you-grow model.
Exactly. It avoids over-provisioning.
And the other big trend?
The other key trend is embedding STATCOMs more deeply into smart grid development.
Right, modernizing the grid itself.
Yes. As grids get smarter to handle things like rooftop solar and electric vehicle charging, they need to be more resilient and adaptable. STATCOMs are fundamental to that. Their ability to manage voltage and reactive power in real time is crucial for handling all these distributed energy sources and preventing widespread blackouts.
So STATCOMs are becoming less of a niche fix and more of a core part of the grid's architecture.
You could say that, yes. They're increasingly essential.
Now, the report also tackles something specific, the impact of those Liberation Day tariffs from 2025. That sounds like it caused some waves.
Oh, it definitely did. Significant disruption. These tariffs hit a wide range of goods, from 10% up to 46% in some cases.
Ouch.
And they directly impacted the energy sector. Things like rare earth metals, vital for EVs and renewables, got hit with a 20% tariff. Solar panels, 25%. Wind turbine parts, anywhere from 15% to 25%. Even oil and gas gear faced 10–15% tariffs.
Wow. Across the board, then, what did that actually do to the industry?
Well, the immediate effect was pretty clear. Higher costs for materials and components.
What I bet.
And because supply chains are so interconnected globally, it caused major bottlenecks and delays. Projects got pushed back. Renewables, EVs, power generation, you name it. The report estimated costs for solar and wind projects jumped by maybe 10 to 30% because of this.
And even though it was U.S. tariffs, the impact spread because of how linked everything is, especially with China.
Absolutely. China plays a massive role in the energy supply chain, even if indirectly through other countries. So U.S. companies started scrambling, looking for alternative suppliers in places like Southeast Asia or Latin America.
Diversifying.
Right. And also maybe looking more at boosting domestic production. But building new supply chains, that takes time and serious investment. It's not a quick fix.
So in that kind of uncertain environment, what was the advice for companies? How do you navigate that?
The report really stressed the need for deep market intelligence. Know your suppliers, track prices constantly, find alternative sources aggressively.
Proactive risk management.
Exactly. Optimize your supply chain. Use data analytics, AI even, and stay absolutely plugged into the changing regulations. Scenario planning became key. What if this happens? What if that changes? Agility was the name of the game.
Makes sense. You need to be ready for anything. Okay, let's shift focus to the companies actually in the STATCOM UPS space. It sounds like a crowded field.
It is quite competitive. You've got the big global players, ABB, Siemens, Schneider Electric, Eaton, GE, Mitsubishi Electric, and so on. But you also have strong regional companies, too.
A mix.
Yes.
And the report mentioned some recent moves, new products, strategic plays.
Yeah, a couple of interesting ones from late 2024. Eaton launched a new UPS, the 9395X. It's specifically designed for those huge hyperscale data centers.
Okay.
And it uses silicon carbide converters, which makes it really energy efficient and significantly about 30% smaller. Space is always a premium in data centers.
Right. Smaller footprint, big advantage. What else?
The other one is Nidec. In December 2024, they rolled out their second-gen eSTATCOM system at a substation in Germany.
eSTATCOM.
Yeah, and the really neat part is that it integrates supercapacitor storage.
Ah, for even faster response.
Exactly. It allows for incredibly quick voltage and frequency stabilization on the high-voltage grid. It's directly aimed at helping Germany handle more renewable energy.
So innovation happening on both sides, UPS and STATCOM, focused on efficiency and renewables integration. That's good to see.
Definitely.
Okay, let's look at the map. How did the market share break down geographically back in 2025?
All right, in 2025, North America actually had the largest share, over 29%, which was about USD 18.64 million.
Okay, number one.
Europe was next, with over 24%, around USD 15.43 million. But Asia-Pacific wasn't far behind Europe in value. It actually held a larger share at roughly 37%, about USD 23.78 million.
Interesting. So North America led, but APAC had a very substantial share too.
Exactly. South America, the Middle East, Africa, they had smaller shares, around 4% or less each.
Got it. So that was 2025. Looking forward, which region is set to grow the fastest?
That would be Asia-Pacific, by a pretty wide margin, actually. The report projects a CAGR of 10.6% for APAC between 2025 and 2033.
Wow, double digits. Why such strong growth there?
It's really a combination of factors: rapid industrialization and urbanization, especially in places like China and India, plus a massive push for renewable energy projects across the whole region.
Makes sense, given the economic development and energy transition happening there. What about drivers in other regions? Anything specific mentioned?
Sure. For North America, it's still strong demand from data centers and the ongoing push for renewables. In Europe, A lot of it is driven by government initiatives for grid modernization and hitting renewable targets, especially, say, in Germany.
Okay.
South America sees growth from expanding industries and more wind and solar. The Middle East is investing heavily in commercial infrastructure and smart cities. And in Africa, it's about tackling power reliability issues and upgrading the grid.
So similar overall drivers, but local factors definitely shape the picture in each region.
Precisely.
Okay, nearly there. Last piece is segmentation. How does the report break down the StatCom market itself, like by power rating and who's using them?
Right. So they look at rated power, the low power STATCOMs, which are under 20 Mvar,
Mvar.
megavolt amperes reactive. It's a measure of reactive power. Anyway, these low power ones are expected to hold the biggest market share,
Why is that?
mostly because they're widely used with large renewable energy farms and just generally for stabilizing transmission networks.
Okay.
But the medium power segment, that's 20 to 100 Mvar, is actually pegged as the fastest growing.
Ah, interesting. Where are those going?
You see them increasingly in grid substations, large factories, think steel manufacturing, and also big data centers. Anywhere needing a serious boost in voltage stability and power quality.
Gotcha. And the high power ones, over 100 MVAR.
Those are typically part of bigger system-wide grid modernization efforts to really strengthen the overall grid resilience. More investment happening there too.
Okay, that covers the power ratings. What about the end users? Which industries are the biggest customers?
Right now, the renewable energy sector is the largest end user. It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Integrating all that wind and solar inherently requires this kind of grid stabilization tech,
Directly linked.
directly linked. But interestingly, steel manufacturing is highlighted as a rapidly growing segment.
Steel. Why them specifically?
It's just incredibly energy intensive. They need huge amounts of very stable, very high quality power. Any disruption can be massively expensive, causing shutdowns or damaging equipment. So StatComs and UPS are becoming really critical for them.
Okay, ensuring reliability in those really demanding industrial settings.
Exactly.
All right, so let's try and wrap this up. The Global STATCOM UPS market, it looks like it's set for really solid growth. Main drivers seem to be, well, the massive shift to renewables and the unstoppable expansion of data centers and digital tech.
That's the core story, yes.
There are hurdles, mainly the upfront cost, but trends like modular UPS systems and STATCOMs becoming part of smart grids are paving the way forward.
Making the tech more accessible and integrated.
And regionally, while North America led in 2025, all eyes are on Asia Pacific for the fastest growth ahead.
It's definitely the region to watch.
Yeah.
It's a dynamic space shaped by tech evolution, energy policy, and even global trade factors like those tariffs we discussed.
Absolutely fascinating. It really highlights how crucial these sort of hidden technologies are for the reliable power we all depend on, especially as the world electrifies. So here's a final thought for you to chew on. We talked a lot about STATCOMs and UPS systems, which are already pretty advanced. But looking even further ahead, with our grids getting ever more complex with renewables and EVs and everything else, how might future breakthroughs in energy storage technology change the game again? Could advanced storage offer even better power quality and stability, maybe moving beyond what STATCOMs and UPS do today? What new challenges or, opportunities might pop up then?
That's a great question. The interplay between grid stabilization and energy storage is definitely the next frontier. It's constantly evolving.
Something to keep an eye on for sure. Well, that concludes our deep dive into the Global STATCOM UPS market based on that 2025 report. Thanks for joining us on this exploration.